So I've like never really been jealous in my life, other than like past like girlfriends. But when I was talking to
Troy.
what's his name?
Troy.
Troy. I was talking to Troy the other day. I was walking out and I saw that you were cutting someone else's hair. I don't know why, but I was like, this motherfucker, like, I'm his only client.
This motherfucker's cheating.
Cheating on me.
Yeah, my first client today. Trust me, you ain't got to worry about that guy.
It's all right.
Can you make my hair look like this? Oh, man, what you want to make your hair look like that for?
See, that's the problem with y'all today. Y'all don't know nothing.
Will you let the man tee you off? You yap worse than 6 barbers.
He's like, you got time after me to do a beard trim? It's like, dude, just schedule it.
Just schedule it.
Just schedule it.
I think what clients probably try to do is try to get over in a way. Well, they know that they didn't book it, so probably not going to get charged for it.
Well,
unless you add it on.
Someone that just books a lineup, you know it's never going to be a lineup.
Right.
You know they're going to be, hey, what do you think about taper?
Go and taper down the side
I
a little
don't
bit.
have, sometimes at the end of the day, but hey, you got to walk in. You say he just wants a lineup. I'm like, no.
Absolutely
because
no way.
I know it's not going to be the whole story.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever just gotten a lineup in like a long time. Maybe when I was like 15.
Well, what they try to do is they try to be like, oh, the beard too, right? I'm like, no, that's a full beard service. Right. So,
but then it's
like now we're talking about a 30, 45-minute deal.
But then how do you deal with like the anxiety of being a barber where if you just give them a lineup, you don't do anything else, and they walk out and they just look like trash? You know what I mean?
What do you mean, outside of their lineup?
Right. Because like,
yeah,
as a barber who takes pride in their work, if they just walk out and
that's why, like in PA, like, you know, I always got asked the squeeze in. I'm like, you're a walking advertisement.
Right.
You walk out of here, someone's gonna be like, where'd you get your haircut? It's like,
this man,
so. It's like, oh, I'll make sure I don't go there. It's like, dude, you're making me look ridiculous, buddy.
Yeah, just go ahead and pay for it.
But we're live, everybody. We're live. Welcome to episode 13 of the Your Barber podcast. Lucky number 13, Mark.
Is that your podcast voice?
What's that?
Is that your podcast voice?
Yeah. I mean, when I was bitching about my last client, I guess that was my podcast voice.
So, like, let's talk about that. Like, when it comes down to you being a barber, like, what are your biggest, like, pet peeves? Like, what do you hate that clients do? They're just like, this motherfucker.
Well, we just went over one. That's probably a big one.
There's someone who walks in, they're like, oh, I just need, like, a shape up. And
see, I always think about asking other barbers about this question.
Yeah.
Or about this topic. And I'm always apprehensive because you blindside them, and it's just like, fuck, there's so many.
Yeah.
It's like, which one do I pick?
Yeah, when I was cutting hair in college, I didn't have that many clients, but I had enough to put food on the table. My biggest one was like people who don't wash their hair prior to getting a haircut.
I got one.
Especially if they have a lot of dandruff. I'm like, bro.
One. Here's my new favorite one. All the barbers are doing this right now. So, what are we doing today after a haircut? Dude, just get 2 mics, for Christ's sakes.
Right.
You quit this. You're not like interviewing girls at a college campus.
Yeah.
That's like the move. You always see that one. So,
one.
Are girls squirters or what do they do?
Like, wait, what?
Have you seen these kids?
Yeah, no, I see them all the time.
There's like 19-year-olds just going around interviewing girls on college campuses.
And a lot of times they're like drunk as hell.
Shit.
Or it'll be like really complicated questions. Maybe not complicated, but like things you really have to think about. Like,
yeah,
what do you feel about taxes? Or like, how would you define taxes? I'm like, dude, how would you define taxes? Like,
yeah.
And you're asking these college kids who probably never paid taxes ever, and then you make fun of them afterwards, like, oh, this guy he went to Harvard and doesn't know what taxes are. It's like, of course he doesn't. Like,
So let's intro Mark a little bit. Mark is a financial coach and entrepreneur. He's been very elusive to get on the podcast, so I gotta get him live. I have some other footage I did with Mark. We'll mash up all this together and kind of make something of it, but I kind of ran out of options for guests this week on the pod, so
it's all good.
figure I'd do that.
I'm recording my episode. I have a episode I need to record today. I'm like way behind.
Did you just do one this morning?
No.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No,
I thought you did.
I wish. It's going to be an evening item.
So do you ever do like early in the morning recordings?
No, I try not to. I don't even know who the hell I am in the morning. So if I don't have my coffee, and by the time I'm up and running, it's already 11, 12 o'clock.
It's hard ramping.
So I try to do it in the evening. So what should we talk about in the pod? Maybe we can do a...
So hold up, I got my opening segment here called Just an Observation.
Got it.
So, Mark, what are your thoughts on, you got a barber. You know, most barbershops got TVs and music on. What are your thoughts on the barber that's like kind of just cutting your hair and they're like, fuck, is that not foul? What is that?
I mean...
Oh! They're just doing that the whole haircut.
As long
as the NBA playoffs going right now.
As long as the clip doesn't fall off, I'm good.
Right.
It depends on the game, you know?
Right.
Depends on the game. If I'm interested, then sure. If it's a bird playing, okay.
Yeah. See, my New York Knicks had game 1 on a couple of Saturdays
You guys
ago.
got smoked.
Oh, yeah. That was the most recent game. We'll get into that. But, so... it was game 1 of the playoffs. It was on Saturday. It started like 6 o'clock. I leave at 7. And the game was on. I had no one on the books. I'm like, I might be able to get out of here, right? And then someone booked me. And I saw this for like a signature, so I knew it was going to be a skin fade of sorts. Guy came in with like a super high fade. Like, this guy already got a haircut. I'm like, what is this, a fixed job? What is this? And that's what it was. He went somewhere. He's upset with his beard and and everything. So had to fix him up. So that was one. I was a little nervous. I kind of was feeling him like. I was like, is he watching the game more than fixing my hair? That's so important that it got fucked up. And I was just like, yeah.
I think people don't care for the most part, as long as it's not delaying what needs to be done. That and like,
it's definitely going to delay it a little bit.
Yeah, especially with the Knicks. But like, if my haircut is normally like a half an hour, then it's going to take an hour because you're watching a game, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah.
But I also understand, you know, like if anyone's working at 9 to 5, you're not always constantly locked in on a computer screen. You're probably doing other things. You need to zone out a little bit to make sure the hours are passing by fast.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so I always like peeking up. Say it's college football season, I'm working Saturday, and I got a bunch of games I bet on. I still have to, like, after the fact, check my phone. It's hard to... Can't do the job and watch TV. So with that guy in particular, that was kind of the thing. I was literally missing the whole first half of the game.
Yeah. And I think it's also one of those type of things where you have to gauge a client and ask, hey, like, do you watch sports? What kind of fan are you? Like, he
was not a sports fan.
He wasn't. Oh, okay, that's hard.
He would not understand.
That's really hard because who knows? He could be a Knicks fan too, and maybe he wants to watch.
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, this guy's not a sports fan. I'm not even gonna bring up I'm watching this game.
I never care. I mean, I also don't really have too much hair to like screw up, but if I was like a stylist, I'd be careful because I don't know. You have like a hot curling iron or something like that, or you leave the perm on for too long, or like something like that.
Yeah, certain parts of every industry, every line in this industry has to focus in various parts. Some parts you might not as much. There's a lot of room for error with these, so I could definitely be shaving you and be like, oh man, they got this line up in right now?
Yeah. Was that the foiler? I can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I still know my things.
Yeah, man, you know a
little bit.
Had a little bit. Had a little background cutting up some dudes. But let's talk about your background a little bit. Where are you coming from, Mark? A little expedite. I know you say this. I know you talk about background a little bit. Probably gets a little redundant for you, but
yeah,
just one last time.
one last time. One time for the one time.
Right.
So I'm originally from a very small town in Pennsylvania, farmland, but originally born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Went through foster care for 13 years, and as I mentioned, landed in that small town. Yeah, first time having like a mom and a dad, so that was pretty cool. And then when I got adopted, I got to change my name and all that stuff that comes with like adoption care. Fast forward about 8 years, I was applying to college, had no clue how the hell I was going to pay for it. So that was the reason why I was a barber for a little bit. I was like, shit, like I know how to cut some hair. I need some food on the table. But that was back when, you know, no one was doing like skin phase back then. They were just like, oh, just give me like a...
It's going to be one number all the way.
Yeah, just give me a 1 or a 2, or maybe they'll say, you know, 3 up top and 2 on the side or whatever.
Right.
So that was really easy, and I had, you know, maybe like 20 clients that would come per week. So it wasn't
good.
Yeah, it wasn't no money.
Yeah.
So that allowed me to pay for some of my schooling. The other part came from me begging for tuition money. But I learned a lot about how to manage money in college. I learned a lot about how to blow it too. I learned a lot about negotiating and selling myself in order to get more scholarship dollars and grants and all that stuff, and study economics. And then next thing you know, I was applying for a job at the Vanguard Group, and literally had no clue who the hell they were, but I knew that they made money. I was just like, I want to go
explain
somewhere.
the Barbers to the Vanguard Group, dude.
So Vanguard is known as being the largest mutual fund company in the world. They're out of Philadelphia. If you don't know what a mutual fund is, it's basically a basket of different stocks. So if you're investing in like a 401k or any retirement plan, likely you're in what they call mutual funds.
Okay.
So with a mutual fund, you can buy, with a couple clicks of a button, you can buy like 500 different stocks that are stocks from all across the world, small, mid-sized, large companies like Google, Amazon, Apple.
Gotcha.
The asset management world isn't all too much, but now they're close to like $7 trillion. And I spent the majority of my career there. But the funny thing is, as I was managing people's money, my finances at home were in shambles. I was living paycheck to paycheck, in debt up to my eyeballs.
A lot of barbers can relate.
Yeah.
Live week to week sometimes.
Yeah, it was tough. You know, managing $20 per week if I had that. You know, taking PTO because I didn't have enough money to drive into work.
Wow, yeah.
So it was a struggle.
Journey.
But I knew a lot about investing. I knew a lot about how to build a portfolio, you know, wealth management, how to avoid taxes legally, all that stuff. I knew it. But when it came down to the basics, I was struggling. So eventually over time, I got my shit together and I started managing my money properly. And I started documenting my debt-free journey of paying off $80,000 of debt online. It was a grind, but I was like, you know what? I need to hold myself accountable. So I'm going to do what any millennial would do, and I'm going to go on Instagram and document my journey.
So what time period was that?
So I didn't get my shit together until 2017.
2017.
I started it 2015-ish.
Yeah.
But I was 25 and I just wanted to party. So
yeah,
it's kind of hard.
Real quick, one of the things I say this all the time, you know, the vision for this podcast, I want to inspire, have some barbers relate to things, and invite some people on that barbers can benefit from, whether it's various industries that we all kind of cross over to. And finance is a big one. A lot of barbers just don't even know how much money they make. A lot of barbers aren't money savvy, investing. They're not looking to the future. They're kind of living for now. And you know, things may happen in their life that takes them out of work, and they got no backup plan. They got no investments lined up. They got nothing rolling.
No, it's a struggle. I mean, and probably more of a struggle than the normal, 9 to 5er, because you're making this money and it's up to you to, pay taxes. You have to be able to manage it properly. Income can be inconsistent. One week you could have, I don't know, like 50 to 100 clients, and another week it could be dead.
Right.
You have to be able to know how to manage all that stuff.
The 1099, it's crippling for barbers in a lot of ways, especially if they can't hide their earnings like a lot of barbers do. A lot of barbers, it's like, Jesus Christ, your accountant's probably like, how's this guy driving what he's driving, buying what he's buying when he's making $20K a year on the books?
No, it's there's a lot of people that fall victim to that, like you go and it's cool for a couple years until the IRS pops up and they're just like, hey.
Or you're actually trying to buy something big, like a house finally or anything like that. And it's like, your FICO score is trash because you've been hiding how much you've really been making. So
and the IRS is after small businesses and contractors this year. They've hired like so many different agents.
Especially after all the fraud with COVID and PPO stuff, right?
That's a challenge because, like, during COVID, everyone wanted to be an entrepreneur. Everyone was rebelling against their 9 to 5s.
Everyone was trying to figure it out.
And there's so many, like, not legitimate businesses out there that aren't paying taxes. The IRS is after them. So, it sounds cool. Like, hey, do it under the table and, not have to pay taxes on it. But if you want something that's sustainable, go ahead and build the structure first. That way you can, it's kind of like building a house, right? If you have a poor foundation, you build a mansion on top of it, that mansion's going down. But if you have a very strong foundation, record keeping, bookkeeping, paying your taxes, you're paying for a tax preparer, a CPA, you have all that shit lined up, then it's clockwork. The hard part is already done.
Right.
And you find the clients, you make them happy, and you keep it rolling. And then that's what's going to keep you around. But if you're like, hey, I'm only going to be doing this for a couple years, I could see why you wouldn't want to do that. But if you're like, I want to do this for the rest of my life, I like what I'm doing, go ahead and build that infrastructure now.
So, talk about, I know you have a free checklist you offer to a lot of your clients and people. One of the big things I followed on it was, Step 1, remove a lot of high interest debt, right?
I had $10,000 of credit card debt when I graduated from school.
What were some of the dumbest things you bought with a credit card?
Oh God, like I didn't have any money growing up.
Right.
And a credit card when I was in college, I was like, oh my God, it's free money. Like, if I had a credit balance of like $3,000, I was trying to find a way to spend it. And when I graduated from college, I just wanted to escape, man. I wanted to live the life that I've always dreamed of, and credit cards were the way for me to go about doing it.
Right.
Because maybe I wasn't getting a higher salary that I wanted at the time, and maybe I was living paycheck to paycheck, but if I had a credit card and I had $3,000 on it, then shit, I'm going to try to spend that. So I would often just go and take trip places with my friends, and,
how do you
Miami
think you got
or Vegas or whatever.
What was that beginning of getting approved, I wonder?
Predatory lending. I mean, truly.
What were those interest rates like?
Ridiculous. Really? My one credit card was 19%. I had one that was 18. I had one that was 21.
That seems pretty standard though for most cards, right?
Right, but it's like they kept allowing me to increase my my credit balance or my my credit limit for a while.
Right.
And then eventually they cut it off and they're like, all right, no more. But I mean, in terms of like, if I were a barber, things I would focus on would be that, paying off any high interest debt that you have, because it's very expensive. I mean, low interest debt, if you're paying less than, 4%, I would say it's not like a ticking time bomb like it is with high interest debt. You want to focus on high interest debt first, and then I would say for a barber, like make sure, the word that people don't like to hear is like, you have to actually budget your money. Like, call it what you want. You have to have a spending plan.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm asking you, like, how much did you make last year? Like, for example, I'll ask you, how much did you make last year, Matt?
See, it's tricky.
Is it like, was it plus?
See, that's 50, the thing.
Plus
I fall into
50,000.
that group of guys that don't know how much money they make.
Right. Now, the biggest challenge, if you think that's a challenge, try to figure out how much money you spent last year.
Yeah, that's even harder.
You know what I mean? But like,
especially with all the cash.
So, like, the money that you invest.
That's one thing I'm excited about working here. There's not going to be very much that goes hidden from now on. So I'll get a better picture of what I truly make.
Exactly. But that's a challenge. Like, people want to save, people want to invest. But if you don't know the variables that go into that, how much you spend and how much you make, then be able to save or invest is like impossible.
Right.
So you have to have a tracking system, record keeping, bookkeeping, for how much money you're making, and then budget your money so you know how much you're spending, so then you can control that gap.
What do you think at the most basic level, a tip you could be for just throwing money aside every week? Say barbers, say your barber makes $1,000 a week.
People sleep on this, but I use Ally. Ally Bank is known as being like the OG bank for what they call high yield savings accounts.
I have an Ally. So.
I have one set up right now. And I should probably mention that I'm sponsored by them, so just so I don't get in trouble.
We'll throw up a little emblem.
Yeah, I am sponsored by them, so but like I've been using them for a long time. So so I'll give you an example of what I do. So I have 3 different buckets. I have a bucket for my Kia, my car, which is an older car. Say again? Yeah. Yeah. Oh wow, they're on it like that. They better not boot my shit.
Perfect content.
I have a bucket for my high yield savings account or my my emergency fund, and then I have a bucket for vacations.
Okay.
Every week, money's flowing into that account. Like, and I don't even look at it. It just flows right in. I don't get notifications. I turn off notifications because I don't even want to know that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way to save and build wealth is taxing yourself. The government already does it to you. Do it to yourself. And normally, at the end of the year, I have a couple $1,000s saved up for whatever the hell I need it for. And you just roll it over to the next year. The other benefit of putting it into a high yield savings account, you don't have to use Ally, but that's who I use, is that the money grows with interest. So if you just put it into a regular bank, you're probably going to get like, I don't know, like less than a percentage. Maybe you might get like a third of a percentage if you're lucky. But the cool thing with a high yield savings account is that you get 10 to 20 times more than you would in a normal savings account. Oh, yeah. So the money's growing while you're putting the money in. The next thing you know, you look back, November, December, and you already have all that money saved up. So you don't have to use it for your car and like vacations, but if you have kids, if you want to put money away for whatever holiday you celebrate at the end of the year, if you want to buy a new car, it's like the easy way of going about doing it, like automating your wealth. But people sleep on it. But now, even now, like with high interest rates, the higher the interest rate it is, like that we are seeing right now, the higher rate that you'll get in your high yield savings account.
So those interest rates apply to your savings account.
Exactly.
Too. Interesting. Right. Didn't know that.
So they're correlated.
Okay.
So given that we are seeing record inflation, like I tell people, I'm like, you're living under a rock if you have your money in a savings account and not a high yield savings account right now. Okay. Like you can literally be making 4 to 5%, which doesn't sound that much, but like 4 or 5% of like, you put in 10,000 or 1,000, like that's some good money. It's It's compounding over time. So,
yeah, I've made a couple moves to get rid of some high interest debt. Just I got a loan through, I think, Lending Club to get rid of a high, during my barber journey, you're not making any money in school.
Right.
So life events happen where you're inclined to use a credit card, like you're in a wedding, for instance. It's like, all right, I guess I'm going to get this credit card so I can just be a good friend. just, you know, I proposed to my wife during that run too. So I bought a ring.
Right.
Definitely financed that one. So yeah, all these things, high interest debt that adds up. I've just been really chipping away at it recently with the consolidation part, getting balance transfers on 0% interest cards for like 18 months, things like that.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, I've been making moves to start to finally starting to move the needle a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long journey. I think a lot of times people go into it and they're like, okay, well,
they want
if
to
I
happen
keep doing
overnight.
If I'm doing it for a month, like I'm going to be in a better spot, like maybe, but it's not going to be. You're not going to become completely debt free. You're not going to be investing all types of money at that time.
Right.
So, like my journey was a long one. 2012 to maybe 2020, where I went from being completely, living paycheck to paycheck and debt up to my eyeballs to 2020. 2020, I became 100% debt free. 2021, I started a business in 2020. Completely quit my corporate executive job in 2021.
What's the name of the business for?
Better Wallet. Better Wallet. Yeah, so it's been a journey just going from paycheck to paycheck to be able to do that. And now
Mark also has his Better Wallet podcast, or he's always dropping. Mark, that's one thing. You see a lot of these financial gurus and coaches and all this bullshit, and Mark's on more of the side. Like you send him a message, you comment on a post, he's always going to respond to you. Mm-hmm. He's always spitting free games, so he's definitely great.
And that's what we try to that's how we try to stand out. There's a lot of bullshit online. There's a lot of creators that are just talking about whatever's hot. And
People hear the word financial coach, you're like, here we fucking go.
Right. I think there's a difference between being like a financial enthusiast and being someone who actually gives a shit about your finances.
Right.
I think a lot of times when you're following these people, they might have millions of followers, but they have millions of followers because they post shit that gets your attention versus being able to actually help you with your finances. So even now, I have the checklist that has 21 different ways that you can improve your finances, and I also show you how to go about doing it. And then you have the course, which is a course I wish I had when I was first making money, that would teach you how to actually budget, pay off debt, how to manage your expenses.
That's a live webinar, right?
No. Then you have the webinar, which will teach you how to go about investing, step by step into things that we're just talking about: mutual funds, ETFs, index funds. And then you have the course, which is a kind of like a 60-day boot camp where it teaches you everything you need to know about managing your money and then also investing. And even if you're looking to invest for your kids, a lot of us got out the mud. How can we go about investing for our kids? So the next generation
this is a
light
big
years
thing.
ahead of us. So with Soul, open up a 529 account, a custodial Roth IRA. So you just put in, I did a post the other day, you put $100 a month between you and your wife, $100 a month for 18 years. Or not even 18, you could probably do it for much less than that. By the time Soul becomes retired or whatever, she'll have $1 million already in her account.
That's crazy.
I think the math was you could do $100 per month into an account. I think it was 13 years, and you just stop, and you just let it grow.
Just
after
let that
13
grow
years,
from there.
Right. The shit grows, and when she takes it out 50, 60 years old, she'll be a millionaire, probably multi-millionaire if I'm thinking about it correctly. But it's just little things like that we didn't learn growing up. When we look at these rich
these are
people,
little things the more upper class people might know that a lot of people aren't privy to, that's still very attainable for most people. Affordable.
So the cool thing about me being in the wealth management world is that I learned from a very young age from these people who would call in. They would say, oh, well, I want to move $1 million from this fund to the next fund. And I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. And I'd be like, oh, Mr. Johnson, how did you accumulate that much money? And Mr. Johnson, who is probably retired, be like, oh, I got nothing but time. Let's talk about it. And they will walk through their strategy. And the formula was stupid easy. Like you spend less than you earn, you pay off high interest debt. Once you pay off debt, you already have like a bunch of money that you could you could set aside. Like when I pay off my debt, I had $1,500 left over because I didn't have to it didn't have to go to debt payments. And you said start investing that every single month, and then you finally get to a point where you specialize in whatever the hell you specialize in. You build your own damn business with things you already learned from your 20s or even your 30s. And you have more money to invest. And if you do that for 10 years, you're like set. I'm at a point now where in 10 years, I really don't need to work. I have enough money invested that I'm good. But a lot of the principles came from what I learned from being a 22-year-old from the hood, having to sit down and talk to these retirees. So a lot of what I teach is like what I learned and what I've learned over the years, and I try to document my own like wealth journey. So I didn't even tell you, I'm building a course now on, all right, well, now that you're financially bulletproof, which is the name of the course, the previous course, like for people looking to invest for their kids,
and that's like the
tax
premium.
management.
That's the premium course, right?
Right. I'm building another one. It should be done by the end of May. That's going to teach new entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs how to streamline their online business, so you can build like their own six-figure business. But teach you everything that Dale has to tell you, like record keeping, bookkeeping, trademarking. Like you need to trademark the name of this podcast, because if I wanted to take the name of the podcast tomorrow, I could.
Yeah.
And
how do I go about that?
You can work with a lawyer, or you can go through I think it's uspto.gov.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can file it for yourself. But with trademarking, I normally recommend you go through a lawyer. I feel like I have to say that.
How much does that cost? Just if I would do it myself.
If you're doing it yourself,
the pure cost
like
of that,
500 to like maybe 1,000.
It's that much. Wow.
Yeah, but it's worth it. I'm telling you, because like
I could see.
No one can take my name. I own it,
and that's a very good name.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's very.
No one can take it.
It seems like you've heard it before almost.
Yeah, so and there's this brand on YouTube called The Better Wallet. And
this motherfucker.
And I went on YouTube and I was like, I have the trademark for this name. You can't use it. Yeah. They had to shut down their entire operation.
Fuck yeah, dude.
They have thousands of followers.
It's like the SEC came storming in on the guy.
They can't do a thing. What are they gonna say? I own the right to the name.
Oh yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about, two different things that I've spoken to you about personally, is and I think it's important for a lot of barbers, is starting a Roth 401k or a IRA, Roth IRA.
Yeah. Let's talk about like the importance of having a retirement fund while you're also doing this kind of job. I think most barbers are probably younger, they're 20s, 30s, even 40s, and they feel like they don't need it because like retirement's plus 20 years away.
Yeah.
Like the time to invest is right now. Even if it's like a small amount, the time to invest is right now.
Exactly.
Like losing 10 years from your retirement or putting away money for your retirement could completely unravel your entire retirement plans. So start investing now. There are many different ways that you can go about putting money away for retirement. As you mentioned, you do have a traditional IRA, you have a Roth IRA. Because you guys are 1099 or maybe you're an employer of the...
I'm on W-2, luckily.
Yeah. So you have the option of putting the money away through, I don't know what Troy has set up, but you could have things like a solo 401k.
Okay.
You have the option of doing a SEP IRA, which is probably what he has.
Okay.
So you can put money away in those type of accounts. But if you're like, well, my barbershop doesn't have that, or my salon doesn't have that,
right. Most
then you can open up, to your point, a Roth IRA or traditional IRA, which is basically a 401k that you own.
A 401k you own.
Right.
Okay.
So IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. I think there's the formal name for it is like an individual retirement like agreement or something like that.
Okay.
But anyhow, with that, you own the actual account. You actually don't own the 401k. Like, I don't work for an employer anymore, so I don't actually have that 401k that I used to have when I was at Vanguard.
You rolled it over to...
I rolled over to an IRA.
Cool.
Right?
Okay.
So you have those different options. Just to go back over it, you have a SEP IRA, which is normally if you have like multiple employees, you use the SEP IRA. You have a solo 401k or an I-401k is what some people call it, individual solo. And then if you don't want to do that, then you can put money into a individual retirement account, a traditional individual retirement account, or a Roth individual retirement account. The difference between the two is like the Roth is like, in my opinion, one of the best accounts you could ever put your money into. And the reason why is that you're being taxed now to not be taxed later. So you get taxed now. Let's say you're at like a really low, like you're a new barber, maybe you're like cutting your teeth with like the whole barbering thing, and maybe you're not making as much money now. You're gonna be taxed at a lower rate now compared to what you might be making later down the road. So a Roth account allows you to do that. You bring your money in, it's taxed, it grows tax free, and then when you take it out at 59.5, which is when the IRS, this make-believe number that the IRS came up with, when you retire at 59.5, don't get me started, take the money out and it's tax-free. So if you have $1 million in there, you could be a tax-free millionaire. Wow. And just take it out whenever you want to. Right?
Yeah, that's what made my ears stand up when I heard the Roth. I was just like, what the fuck's that? And then I was like, oh shit, who would not want to do that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Because people don't know. No one knows, like, I didn't know about it until maybe like year 2 of being in corporate finance.
Yeah.
So if I'm learning at year 2, like, how could I expect someone who's not in corporate finance to ever know about it?
Right. Which is why you're doing what you're doing.
Exactly. So you want to always find those tax advantage accounts. Like, how I know tax advantage accounts are powerful is because the IRS limits who can actually use them. Like, they won't let rich people use them because the rich people know the benefits of it.
Yeah.
So they cap it. They'll say, well, you make over 144, I think is the number. Trying to screw up my beard. It's already a little patchy. You can't let it get any more patchy.
It's always wonder with dudes like the cut like Diddy and
Did y'all
shit.
know that's the hustle?
Like a rant like
you make enough money to pay everybody so you don't do shit, but be as happy as you can be. I'm gonna be happy
the whole time. Like, yeah, this guy's a pro.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. Sure.
But yeah, they won't allow rich people to use Roth accounts because they know about the tax advantages and they know that they will exploit the shit out of it. But then people who don't, they're not rich getters, is what I call them. They don't know about those accounts, and then a lot of them just don't use them. But when you understand the benefit of them and how the money can grow, you're like, oh my God, why am I not using them?
So say I want to start, you said IRA is probably the best way to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't currently have a retirement account with your W-2 here, then you probably would want to go the Roth IRA route.
Okay. So how do I start one? Say I just have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, opening up a Roth IRA account or any type of investment account is easier than opening up an Instagram page.
Wow.
You already have all the information. People make it more complicated than it actually is.
Okay.
So you go in, you need your social security number, you need your basic information, you know the top of your head, you need your bank information only for the contributions that you're putting in.
Right.
You go to a place like Fidelity.com, Vanguard.com, CharlesSchwab.com, Kia.com.
Now what separates those companies from each other?
Like, from like the bare bones of it, they're all the same. They all do the same thing. The only difference is how they might be structured. That's why a lot of people use Vanguard, and they've been around since 1975-ish. So they're like the real OGs, and you have Fidelity, who's also an OG. But the big difference between Vanguard and Fidelity is, again, like how they're structured, like where the money goes, like when they make a profit.
Let me do your mustache real quick. Okay. Always like you watch those shows like LeBron in the shop, and they're getting a haircut during the during their conversation. Get a little pinch for it, perfect. And they're not cutting anything. They're not doing shit. Their haircut's done. So I'm like, why do they just? Like the idea of it sounds great, but like they're not really accomplishing anything. Yeah, I always watch those shows with a different set of eyes for sure.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing. You know, LeBron probably gets special treatment if you know what I mean. So I don't think it's just someone just cutting his hair.
Right.
But yeah, man, like
been done.
I think people overanalyze like what kind of place that you should open up the account. I mean, places that you shouldn't open up an account would be like a place like Robinhood. I'm not a big fan of them.
Okay.
It's because they gamify the investment stuff, which investing is very much not a game. That's the reason why so many people that bank or use Robinhood tend to lose money because they feel like they need to trade in and out of stocks like it's gambling. If you're investing and it feels like gambling, you're doing it wrong.
Right. You want to get
which
long term, not short.
I know that hurts your soul. You're probably like, oh my god, like
making sports better.
Right. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like who you actually invest with, like I gave you 3 different options. You have Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab. Yeah. And people are like, which one? I'm like, it's like asking the question, I don't know, who do we have here in Atlanta? You have Kroger, you have just trying
like ice cream.
Yeah.
Haagen-Dazs.
It's just like, dude, it's all ice cream.
Ben and Jerry's.
Just eat it. Like
fucking Talenti.
Yeah, you'd be happy.
Jenny's out here.
You'd be happy either way. So you open up the account, you need just basic information. The biggest challenge and what I help out with is, okay, I did all that. What the fuck do I invest in?
So let's talk about that a little bit. So your IRA, you have options in what you invest in that IRA, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So think about it like
confusing. That's where a financial advisor would come into play. Possibly.
You would think. Right?
Okay.
Traditionally, a lot of people would be like, okay, well, I need to pay a financial advisor thousands of dollars a year in order to just tell me what to invest.
Yeah.
The financial advisor, because I used to be one, I guess I'm still technically one because of my licenses.
Right.
They don't really do shit. Like, they use the same type of models that you can build yourself.
Okay.
And they charge you thousands of dollars for it. So you can go in, you can build your own portfolio. They're not going to do anything but like pick 3 different funds and let it ride anyhow.
So how often would a financial advisor typically go in there and make adjustments if you don't say anything?
If it's like a traditional like retirement account, I would say maybe they'll look at every year.
They'll look at once a year.
They won't make significant changes.
Okay.
The goal is to set the account where you don't have to make many changes over the next like 10, 20 years.
Right. Almost did what I did last time. So I've been checking on.
Now, of course, like if there are big changes, you have a kid, you want to retire early or have some medical issues, of course you would want to make some changes. But
yeah,
I would say 70 to 80% of the time that you'll have the money and it's growing, you're putting money in, you're not going to have to need to make any changes. So why pay for that every single year if you know what you're doing? Right? But that's like the biggest misconception and why I felt like I needed to come into this space, because like there's this gap between people who don't know anything about finance that want to manage their own money and getting a financial advisor. Like, what if I could just teach you how to go about doing it?
Right.
It's kind of like, I don't know, like driving a car. Like, imagine if someone just told you, like, when you're 18, like, you actually don't need to learn how to drive a car, though you could. You should just get a private driver, pay them, thousands of dollars per year, and you can just ride around and not need to know how to do it. Or you can just learn how to do it yourself.
So how much does a financial advisor make off of your money that's grown? Do they take a percentage, of the growth, or like
assets under management? So let's say, I don't know, you have $100,000 in your retirement account. They'll take 1%. That's like pretty standard. 1%, $1,000 to basically do nothing but set you up in the beginning and let it ride. So like the holy grail, or like what these advisors go after, tend to be retirees. They're like, all right, well, I want to work with a retiree who has an IRA that I don't need to do shit at all, but let it ride.
Yeah.
So let's say you have, I don't know, $1 million.
So when you worked in that was kind of, you're like, oh, this is easy. This is
like
your
that's
ideal client.
That's what I want to go after. Ideal client. They have, I don't know, like some advisors would say, like, I only work with clients that have $1 million. $1 million in qualified funds, meaning like an IRA.
Right.
And you do the math. 1% of $1 million is $10,000.
Yep.
You're making $10,000 for doing nothing. You find 10 clients like that, which is, you go down to Florida, you could easily find 10.
Right.
You're making $100,000 a year. What are you doing all day? You're playing golf.
Right.
Like that's
making $100K of playing golf.
Making $100K. You don't have to do shit. You have to keep them happy.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the game. You get 2, or you get 20, you get 30. You build a team. You give them a cut for every client that they get. That, my friends, is what they call an advisory firm.
That's what they call what?
An advisory firm.
Advisory firm.
Where they're like not doing anything but collecting that 1%. And oh, by the way, the money's growing, so it's not just that $1 million that you're getting. You know, that money doubles within 7-8 years, which likely it will.
Yeah.
And you're not only getting $100,000 from that one client, you're getting $200,000. What did you do all day over those 7-8 years? You're playing golf. So I mean, that's really the game. That's why a lot of advisory firms are down in Florida. They want to hang out with the retirees.
So one thing you preach a lot is kind of like low risk, long play reward, which is, you know, music to my ears, because that's what everyone wants, just stability and ensuring that, you know, whatever they're investing is going to pay off consistently in the long run.
Right.
And one thing you preach a lot is index funds.
Yep.
So talk about index funds a little bit.
Yeah.
I have no idea what an index fund is.
So an index fund is, you have 2 different types of index funds.
Right.
You have mutual funds, you have ETFs, exchange traded funds. But just let's talk about the higher level topic real fast.
Yeah.
So back in the day, they would just invest in the individual stocks, right? You buy the Amazons, the Apples, whatever those type of companies were back then.
Okay.
And what rich people didn't like about it is that if you put money into, I don't know, like Sears, which years ago, Sears was the shit.
Right.
Stock price is doing well. GE, for example, is another one.
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, like, you know, they stopped doing well over 10 years. I lost 90% of my portfolio. I want to diversify into other stocks all across the country. So some smart people came together and said, okay, well, what if we could buy 100, 500 different stocks all at the same time with a couple clicks of a button, similar to how you could do it with individual stocks, but you know, you're diversified. So if something were to happen to Sears or GE, they kick it out of the index and you don't have to do anything but kind of chill. Like you don't have to pay an advisory fee for it.
Okay.
So that's how index funds came to be. And why they call it index funds, because they track the index. So when you look at Wall Street, you see like Wall Street movies and you see that thing called a ticker. Yeah. Kind of like rolling across the screen. It's normally like green and red. Yep. Like you're investing into some of the largest companies in the world with the index. So these companies like Vanguard and Fidelity, they buy similar funds to what's in the index. They call that passive management. And then as the United States grows, being the companies within the United States, your portfolio grows.
Right.
So basically, you're investing in the capitalism in the United States, which capitalism can be a horrible thing, but for your portfolio, it can be really good.
Okay.
So that's basically what an index fund is. And the reason why I preach it is
How do
because
I start?
Yeah,
How do I start investing in those?
Yeah, so for more of a deep dive, kind of know we're about to finish up the cut.
Yeah.
You could just jump into the webinar.
Right.
But if you're looking to start, I mean, the same companies I mentioned, the Vanguards, Fidelities, and Charles Schwab,
Okay.
you can literally go on there and type in any of the index funds that they have and invest into those and see how you like it.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I mean, the reason why I preach index funds, because, I mean, the only way I can describe it, the best way I can describe it is Warren Buffett made a bet with his shareholders back in 2005, I believe, right before the financial crisis, and basically told his shareholders that he'd make a bet that an index fund over the next 10 years will outperform any hedge fund manager that wanted to take a bet on this.
Okay.
Hedge fund managers basically have unlimited capital, they have unlimited knowledge, they have unlimited level of resources, where anyone would probably say, like, okay, well, they should be able to beat an index because they likely know when things are going to be moving up and down, and they can take advantage of that in order to make more money.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, cool, you want to bet? No one bets against Warren Buffett. But there's one, I forget the actual name of the firm, but they were like, you know what, we'll take the bet. And I forget what the actual payout of the reward was going to be if they won. But as you guys know, like 2008, 2009, you had the financial crisis, right? So you would expect for index funds not to do well. You would expect for hedge funds to do well during that time because they could take advantage of the market not doing so well. Maybe they invest in the companies that could be a little bit more stable.
Yeah.
And then, during those years, it was actually pretty tight. Like, index funds didn't overperform and hedge funds ended up winning. But then when you started getting closer to 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, index funds significantly did better than hedge funds. And that thing was to the tune of like 300% over the average of that hedge fund manager. 300%. So, like, you lose out on all those potential gains if you weren't investing in an index. So let's kind of bring it down to the average person. The average person is not a hedge fund manager. No. The average person is basing their information off what they see online or what they think is hot or whatever. So why the hell would you think that you can outperform the index if hedge fund managers can't do it? And that's not just those 10 years. The history of time, index funds have outperformed hedge fund managers. Hedge fund managers or just active management has been known to not outperform the index. But it sounds hot. So when people are putting money into like Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever the hot stock is, it's like, yeah, sure. Like, you make your little measly $500 to $1,000 one time, but then you're going to get burned most of the time. I mean, it's the reason why I don't gamble. It's like, yeah, it sounds cool. Like,
you just know the returns are too inconsistent.
Yeah, like every time I ask a consistent gambler, how much net profit have you made? They always say I'm in the red. Always. Yeah. I've never heard of anyone.
Well, you hear the pros say 55%, that's the number I aim for. And you think 55%, how are you making any fucking money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're betting a shit ton, maybe some, but like a lot of those sports bettors, they make money off of their knowledge.
Yeah.
And selling their...
Exactly.
It's kind of like what you do almost.
Exactly.
That's how they kind of really come out on top.
Exactly. Sell their knowledge and they have brand
deals. They hit a big
whatever.
Contest or something maybe.
Right.
But that's, once in a lifetime thing.
Like, I could tell you right now, I make more money per year from my actual investments on average than I would in my actual business. But the money's just growing.
Right.
Like, well, I don't have to do anything to make it happen.
Right. Well, you're the sole employee of your company, right? Mm-hmm. So that helps you out with tax-wise as well, I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Man. You got all the little tricks.
it could be a give and take too, because like if I had more contractors, I do technically have one. I have a VA. If I had more employees, that could be a write-off. But yeah, right now I'm the only actual employee.
His haircuts are right off, isn't it?
Yeah,
Now, why is that?
because I wouldn't be getting it unless I had to record myself online.
Right, because
Talk about
your face is a lot of your business.
Right. I'm going to record a podcast episode after this. When I get back home, I have to record a couple of reels for the week. I have to take some photos.
Let's talk about algorithms and Instagram.
I hate the algorithm.
It's a mystery. It's one of the world's biggest mysteries.
Yeah.
You think YouTube's shorts and Instagram's reels, you think they're kind of the same principles in their algorithms from what you know, or what do you think about that?
The same type of concept, but YouTube, TikTok, and as of right now, Meta or Instagram, their algorithms are slightly different in terms of what they believe is important to the end audience.
Okay.
With TikTok, and the reason why they do really well is because they know how to make it addicting. They know that, if you like a photo of a vacation in Cancun, they're going to double down on that and show you that and show you things are related to that for a long time until you prove otherwise that you want something else. Instagram is trying to actually, Mark Zuckerberg mentioned that he was going to be moving into the direction of the TikTok algorithm because of how addicting it is.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it's a little bit more relaxed. But I could see them moving in that direction.
Who do you think has stricter guidelines, Instagram or YouTube?
In terms of what?
Like, I have a buddy, right? He's trying to.
I have a guy.
I have a friend, right? He's trying to kind of break into just social media more. Not a big social media guy, and he kind of got caught up and was like, well, maybe I want to make two different accounts, one for like maybe personal, one for business, and. He used one device to make one account and a different device to make another. His account got suspended for 180 days.
Oh my God.
Both of them.
Wow.
And I was trying to help him figure out why the fuck that is. And basically what we found is they thought he was a bot because he used different devices doing what he did.
Yep.
And now he kind of, I don't know, Instagram, there's probably ways to appeal that.
Yeah.
But that's just like little shit like that.
It's like a headache normally.
And it's things like using like music on reels.
Yeah.
Like that's one.
All that stuff you have to be extremely careful. Like even on YouTube,
Right.
I mean, it's more strict on YouTube in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I was just talking about like reels on Instagram. Like it's in their database, but it doesn't mean it can't get flagged.
Right.
Like I've used plenty of. Like Jay-Z's a big one. You use anything Jay-Z reel wise, like. Even if it's in the database, it could get flagged, like right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And you can appeal it, and sometimes it wins, but sometimes it'll block you in fucking different countries, but not America. It's just very odd sometimes how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, copyright, dude. I mean, copyright's been interesting in my podcast because I can't monetize anything right now. I'm not at that stage yet. And I get flagged, I'll play music for people's intros. Sometimes the artist or the artist team will allow it and it's fine. Like I had a Madonna song, Madonna's huge.
Yeah.
Got flagged, but she allowed it. So it was all good.
Yeah.
And I used a 15-second clip of my last episode, just came out yesterday, of this Alchemist beat. It was a Prodigy song, Keep It Thorough, right? It was just the instrumental. Bam, they made me take it off. And I was like, what the fuck?
The best advice I can ever give you, like when it comes to the podcast, just buy like stock. Like go use stock videos.
Yeah.
Because no one listens to a podcast because you just have the hot like Jay-Z beat, you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Like
that's more just my personal preference.
Yeah. So I just try to avoid it as much as
whoever
you can.
appreciates it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my whole thing. I figured like, I'm just gonna use it now while I can, and if it gets to a certain point where I can't consistently, then I'll just completely did it.
Yeah.
But
I moved away from it. I did it maybe for the first couple episodes, and I was like, nah. Like I don't want them to come after me down the road.
right, and then just
That's how they make a lot of their money.
Chip away your whole archive.
Yeah.
Shit.
Much rather tell one of my homies from back at home, like, yo, record me a track, man.
Yo, you've been trying to give me your mixtape. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What's the?
I'll put you on the podcast, bro. You've been trying to make a mixtape for
you got
years.
Hot 16 you've been trying to lay?
I saw a quote the other day, and they were saying that, like, if you have a bad day, just remember that someone from your hometown is still trying to be a rapper.
Oh,
like,
man.
yo.
Oh, man. That's part of this podcast, Passion Project. Don't give up, guys. Don't give up at your rap career. Don't give up. That was always like the joke.
But if everyone tells you you're trash, give up, bro. I give you permission.
There is this cat from back home that blew up, actually.
Yeah.
His name's D.Y., David Morse.
Oh, wow.
He kind of found a lane and, like, dude, I remember him opening up. We have this thing called Fall Fest at WVU, right? It's, Kanye was there. It's always like a huge names, always headline and shit. And I remember he was one of the openers in like 2007 for like, I think it just might have been like a Ryan Leslie show. And he was one of the openers. So I remember that in 2007, he tried to rap. He tried to do kind of every little genre lane he could. And now he's found this kind of country, like hip hop, like trap country time vibe. And dude, he's blowing up. He had a song just go super viral on TikTok, and he's on tour right now. He's crushing it. So,
who's that one rapper that did the same thing? Tattoos on his face.
Post Malone?
Post Malone.
He started in country?
He used to do, he did like every genre.
Yeah.
And then he landed on rap, and it worked.
That's funny. Yeah, I guess just keep chipping away and never know, but yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, you can still trash your hometown rapper.
Well, like, I mean, honestly though, like, I mean, think about it. We're 30 plus. We graduated from high school, like, plus 12 years ago.
Yeah.
At a certain point,
you gotta put your eggs in some different baskets.
Yeah,
it can't be the end all be all.
I'm all about like making sure that you're working towards your goals
Dreams
and everything,
and stuff.
and your dreams.
So,
But at a certain point, you have to cut your losses.
Get a little realistic.
Especially if it's the only thing that you're doing.
Don't listen to Mark, guys. Follow your dream. No, I'm just kidding.
Follow your dreams, but be real to yourself too.
Yeah, be real at the same time. Well, Mark, I think that was a good episode, man. In this short amount of time, give the people an idea how fire this fucking haircut does.
Goddamn, I don't even have to look at the mirror. That's how you know.
There he is. He's back in business.
He just keeps giving me the mirror. I'm like, bro, I know it's good. Now you're just showing off.
Yeah, I have some clients, they say, dude, here's another client pet peeve. He's like, dude, I don't even want the mirror. I don't even want the mirror. And then they get up and then they look in this mirror.
You're
like,
bro,
dude, you just could have looked at the little one. But yeah, I have a client comes in about once a week, every Saturday morning. And he shows up like 30 minutes more early because he's like military. Yeah. Which I kind of enjoy because it kind of makes sure start my days on time. Yeah. Yeah, he always does that. It's funny. You may have ran into him one time before.
Yeah, I think I did.
And they are, boss.
Cool.
Your Barber Podcast. New episodes come out weekly on Sunday. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Apple Podcast and Spotify to be notified when new content is posted. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.